That was the first line of defense against this terrible feeling. The second was therapy. So I got enrolled with a therapist, and she was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was popping those things like all the time and just masking it, and like for a while I was just bullshitting the therapist, and like I didn't trust her, and eventually she broke down that barrier, and she made it clear to me, which the doctor should have, but she made it clear to me that those medications are meant to be a bridge. They're not a solution, they're a bridge. Therapy was the solution, and ultimately she was correct. She gave me this little chart, and I'll share this just for the people who want, um, I don't know, who have nowhere else to turn. It worked for me. And so this is what she presented me with. This is the same one from years back. I've kept it this whole time because it got me through the darkest time in my life. She asked me which of these three is easier to change: feelings, thoughts, behaviors. My reaction was to say that feelings are the easiest to change. And she told me that, in her opinion, that behaviors were the easiest to change. And the reason for that was that it is a choice. Our behaviors are choices. What we decide to do with our day, what we decide to do with our time, is up to us, and that affects how we think about our surroundings and ourselves. Was I productive today? Did I present myself in a way that I feel I'm comfortable with? And those kinds of thoughts can lead to feelings, whether they're positive or negative, about yourself, about your surroundings. Um, and then she proceeded to discuss with me what types of behaviors led to me feeling the way that I did. So she said, you feel like you're secluded, like you're not a part of society. You know, she said, what time do you go to sleep? And I said, well, usually about 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, whenever the bar's closed, whenever the ball's empty. And she said, well, maybe if you adjusted that and you were awake during times when people were more active, and you got out more and participated more, you would feel, that feeling would go away. And she was right. I changed my sleeping schedule, and that was hard, but I did. And that was with the help of exercise, which she also suggested. Um, and from that point forward, I started exercising daily. I gained 20 pounds of muscle. I was scrawny when I first started, and I'm back to where I was before. But during that time, I gained so much weight, and I got completely sober. I didn't drink alcohol, anything like that. And then I got to the point where I said, you know, I've crossed this bridge. I don't need these anymore. And so I just stopped taking the Xanax. I didn't know that was like a really, really bad idea. And about 2 days in, I felt fine until like the second day. Second day, I'm driving down the road, and I start feeling like, I don't know, the lines in the road were passing slower and slower, and like they started to almost hypnotize me. And before I knew it, everything had like strange outlines, and everything was like cartoonish. And I started sweating and feeling weird. and didn't know why it was the withdrawals from the medication. Uh, so I work with my doctor, um, Dr. Doom, the motherfucker that prescribed me all those pills and didn't really care to lower it with time. Got off of them, and yeah, I felt great. I was sober for a full year. Um, Best that I had ever felt. I'd go to the bar with my, I would drink so much before that, and I would literally go to the bar with my friends and have a tonic and cranberry juice and like have the time of my life. And I'd look at everybody around me like all sloppy and drunk, and I didn't miss it one bit. And I didn't feel anxious because I was adjusting my behaviors accordingly. Um, and then that changed at some point. I realized that the number of people was really a factor. I noticed that one-on-one is hard sometimes. It's very interpersonal, and like for some reason I shut that off after I lost my loved one. And but so like groups of two people, 3 people, even 4 people, that was my bag. I felt like every time I'd go out with that number of people, there was just, I feel like I couldn't fuck it up. At least one of those people would get along with me, and if I could get along with that one person, then I could vibe with everybody. Then we started hanging out with groups of like, larger groups, 6 to 10, or parties like frat parties and things like that. I can't even be around that. I don't know why. There's something in me that feels like I don't have a voice, or what I'm saying is not valid, and that whole irrational pattern of thinking comes back. And it's been a long time since I've been in therapy. I don't take medication anymore for that, specifically because I have a medical condition happening right now that prevents me from doing that. Which, that kind of sucks, but I've learned to deal with it. But I can say that during those 2 months, you cannot tell me, that it's not like really fucked up for some people. It's insensitive to pretend like that's not happening, because I've been there. And I'm stronger for having been through it, but when you're in it, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. There's just like there's no hope. And because it's become a meme, people don't talk about it seriously anymore. It's like taking away the voice of people who really are going through it, because it's a meme. Like, I mean, I know that there's like this attempt to get rid of political correctness and like overcome certain boundaries, but then there's a point where it's like really just toxic, and I think that joking about those things or taking them lightly, or pretending like they pertain to you when they really don't, and you just like can actually just better yourself and not just like fall into the trend of like being hopeless. Alright, so getting back to people who kind of use it, like they use it, it's like a trend. That was something that I posted on Twitter. It's like become trendy to have like mental problems, and I I won't dive too far into it because I don't really know the context of how this is going to be used. So as far as my personal story, I won't dive too far into that. But the first time that I heard somebody kind of like meme about mental illness, I was really taken back. I was hanging out with this group of friends, friends of friends, people that I just kind of drank with and stuff, college kids, and one of them said something about, she was talking about her finals, and she was just really making a joke about killing herself. She sounded very heartfelt about it, but she was clearly like making like a joke about it, and I confronted her on it, in front of everybody, because I don't know, I took it very seriously. I've known people who've done that, and seen the repercussions, and you know, it's it wasn't a joking matter to me at the time, and that was like 3 years ago or so that I heard that, and like everybody kind of made me out to be the bad guy, but I really felt like it was kind of fucked up, and I couldn't help but say something. And then like now, going on Reddit and like YouTube, and I just feel like it's such a meme and Twitter especially. I see so many people on there, they honestly fishing for, I don't know what it is, if it's attention or if it's like likes. Maybe they just don't get the attention that they want in like real life, and they put that out there. And on top of that, this generation is so um, we don't interact with each other the way we used to. We don't call each other like we text each other or we snap each other. Like when somebody calls me, I probably won't answer it. I'll probably let it ring, and then I'll text you like 5 minutes after, like what up? Because I don't know. We just don't operate that way. Eh. Anyway, yeah. So it's created this generation of people who like real social situations just make them uncomfortable, and like that slight bit of discomfort does not equate to a mental illness. It doesn't equate to having social anxiety. It's just like that basic human unease, making plans with people, and anticipating it. When you have a persona online, it's probably really hard to meet people in person because you're like trying to live up to something when it shouldn't be like that. It should just be you um, doing you. So you have anxiety, social anxiety, the different levels, people who don't know the difference. In your poll, it was like 50% of people said they had that. I mean, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, maybe to a degree, uh, but I wouldn't say that it's clinical. It's not something that maybe you need medication for. Uh, on In closing, I mentioned about having a physical problem, which I won't speak on, what it is that I'm going through, but I can say that I've met people who were completely, I don't want to use the word normal, because what is normal? They didn't have any problems with anxiety before, and just hanging out with them. There was a girl I was dating, and I actually met her on Tinder, which was like during that time that I was working out and stuff. So that was big for me. Like so many dates before that, I would just ghost somebody because like they probably thought that I wasn't interested, or like I'm like no, I just have crippling anxiety. I didn't tell them that. You don't want to tell anybody that. So anyway, this chick, her roommate, she she was very social. Um, Always hung out with us. Always made a point to like bring her brother over, and just we would all kick it and have a good time. And then out of nowhere, just wouldn't see her. When I did, she was like wearing a sweater. It's like 80-degree weather. She's always just real quiet, and I recognized that. Um, and I didn't talk to her about it because I wasn't as close to her as that girl, but it turned out that she was having real bad issues with anxiety, and it came out of nowhere. She hadn't experienced that before. So she went to the doctor. They got her on like anti-anxiety medication and stuff, and like it wasn't really helping. They went further into it, and it turned out it was her thyroid. Um, Whether it was hyperthyroidism or the opposite, it was just a chemical imbalance essentially, and she had no control over it. But it was debilitating to her, and it was very real. The thoughts, it's all very real. So it can be mental, it can be physical, it can be you're just being a pussy. But it is very real for some people, and there's nothing they can do about that. And yeah, I'd like to dive further into my own personal story, but I don't really know the context of how this will be used. I don't want to. I don't want it to be taken lightly. I don't want it to be a meme. I don't want it to be just taken out of context. It's like a real sensitive thing. I don't think there's one person that contributed to this that legitimately has anxiety that didn't go into it and like have second thoughts or erase the video, looking at themselves talking like, God, I'm so stupid, I'm so ugly, I say the stupidest things, and they didn't even upload it when they probably had something valuable to contribute. You know, I definitely was anxious going into this, but I feel like it's an opportunity to explain to people that don't know what people are going through, and that it is not always them just being overly sensitive or underexposed. It's like sometimes they need a bridge. Sometimes they need medication for life. Sometimes some people need to be institutionalized. Sometimes they just need thyroid medication or heart medication or, um, just to change the way that they think. So hopefully I covered all my bases. Um, if not, I would definitely make a follow-up, 100%. Answer any questions, and like, I've worked with people um, as a caregiver for people with developmental disabilities, and had, training in mental health, and gone through the rigors myself. Currently going through it, but still, I'm still here. So I'd be glad, anybody that wants to message me, feel free to.